Welcome to Every Horror Movie on Netflix. Glad you're back with us. We're the show where we watch, review, discuss, sometimes argue about, but try to love every horror movie on Netflix.
Try to love. That's what we do.
You know, and
we're kind souls.
That sets us apart from a lot of movie podcasts. That's important.
I mean, our podcast isn't called We Hate Movies, which is a real podcast.
Right.
We don't hate these movies.
And
I hate some of them, but I go in with an open heart.
There's a lot of bad movies on Netflix, as we found out, but we are not looking for bad movies.
Most of them.
We don't want to make fun of bad movies. We are not a bad movie show. We are trying to love these movies.
And we may be a bad movie show.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, this week we're talking about a movie that tries to love other horror movies.
We didn't introduce ourselves.
We didn't.
Fucked up bigly. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So who are you?
Fine. As always, I'm Chris. Here again with Patrick.
Hi.
Steven.
Hello.
And our special guest back by popular demand for a second episode, Sam.
You like me. You really like me.
Who doesn't like Sam?
You didn't lie. I'm back.
Sam, we didn't really get into this last time, but, you know, this is a horror movie podcast. You know, not everybody's cut out for this business.
Did you know that? I'm sorry. I know we told you it was rom-coms to get you to come.
Every rom-com on Netflix. Okay.
We know how you love your Nicholas Sparks.
We need to know your credentials, right? Because we've all explained over, how 30 plus episodes what our relationship with horror is. What's yours? Are you a horror fan?
Give us your resume.
Oh, yeah.
Your
well,
CV.
As you know from last episode, I have made a third of a film with these boys here.
Yep.
third of a horror
She's
film.
a scream queen.
Yeah.
And you dropped some sick horror movie titles, too, in reference to the last movie we
thank
watched,
you.
so clearly you've seen a few.
I have seen a few. And I said my go-to sick movie, if you stay home sick and or you're bored, you're flipping through Netflix, what do you turn to? Horror is always my genre. I try to stick to something that I think I'm going to enjoy. I'm not one of those that enjoys, a B horror film just because it's bad or something that's, not enjoyable. It's not my kind of cup of tea. I try to lean towards something that's actually quality, but I'm
You're in the
up
wrong place.
I'm up for anything, and I thought I'd give this one a shot, and I'm definitely trying to find the positives in every single movie. But
Wait,
what's
so
your
I thought
favorite
you
horror
were.
movie?
I thought you were. What's your sick horror movie?
what do you mean by sick?
Oh, yeah.
You were saying if you're like homesick. I thought you were going for a specific movie.
Oh no! I browse through all of the streaming services to find.
okay.
I try to find new things I haven't seen before. But my favorite, I really love The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably, I've seen that movie not enough. I could see it a million times and find more things to love about that one. Still find it scary every time I watch it. I just love it.
What is your favorite and or least favorite horror movie you've ever seen on Netflix?
On Netflix? Oh, God.
Does anything leap to mind? If not,
Bedeviled.
Yeah.
Bedeviled.
Bedeviled, the last one we watched. Oh, gosh. The worst one I've watched is probably the one we're talking about today.
Oh, fuck.
That one was pretty bad.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I'm still open. My review is yet to be seen. But the best one, I mean, right now, I really like The Haunting in Connecticut. I don't know if everyone's going to like that one, but I do like a supernatural horror film, and that one is pretty good.
Wait, is it The Haunting in Connecticut
Yes.
or A Haunting in Connecticut?
Otherwise we would have
The.
watched it already.
It's
okay.
the.
Unless it was added after we started.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's,
But
it's the.
no, well, that's good to know because at the end of the episode today, we are spinning the Wheel of Death. So next episode, we're going to get to go off of alphabetical order and pick our own Netflix horror experience.
Maybe I'll win for the first time ever.
Maybe I'll win for the
Have you
first
won?
time ever.
No, you haven't. Okay.
No, it hasn't gone our way.
No.
So we'll see what the Wheel of Death brings tonight.
I mean, presumably death of some sort for someone.
For someone, we'll find out.
Won't be
but
me.
But the movie, yeah, Sam's ineligible because she hasn't signed a
Because I'm
contract.
Jewish and they're anti-Semitic. Truth comes out.
Oh,
Man,
God.
shots fired.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
so
Anyway.
We're getting into it early this
We're
up.
getting into it early. All right. Well, the movie we're watching this week is Beyond the Gates. It's another movie by IFC Midnight. These guys are like a bad penny, and I think it's deliberate. I think they put all their movies in the beginning of the alphabet deliberately. So
I'm
we
with
watch
you
them
on
all.
that. We've talked about it off cast. I think they're angling for our input.
Yeah. Well, they certainly got it. I don't even want to know how many IFC Midnight movies we've watched so far.
I mean, I think they
Or
just
how
put out
many
a bunch
more
of
there might
shitty
be.
horror movies.
They're
I
not
think-
shitty, though.
I think
because
we're going to be into like PQRST, whatever, and we're still going to be seeing a lot of fucking IFC Midnight.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. When you watch an IFC Midnight movie, you know you're in for something interesting. Maybe not good, but interesting. More
else
interesting
has
than
IFC
like a
Midnight done?
mediocre, shitty dead teenager movie.
Kill List.
Oh no!
No, a Dark Song, Ava's Possession, #horror,
Anti-birth.
Anti-Birth. Yeah, there's more.
There's a lot more.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Those are all interesting, at least.
They're clearly looking for like new and interesting voices.
Baskin was IFC Midnight.
It was
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the production values are going to be fine, and it's new and interesting voices. Whether or not that's a good or a bad thing with every movie remains to be seen.
You think the production value in this movie was good?
Oh, absolutely.
What?
Yeah, are you kidding me?
I think it was good enough.
We've seen some shit,
Okay.
Sam.
I mean, that's true. I mean,
I've seen some
it's
shit
better
too.
than like fucking American Poltergeist 2, but
Well, it's easy to point your finger at American Poltergeist 2 or Haunting at Silver Falls or these like super like these guys just made a movies. But even like compared to 13 Cameras, this movie had good production value.
what?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
13 Cameras had better production
13
values than
Cameras were half of their shtick. The half of the reason they made it about 13 Cameras was so they could record it through fucking like
They were saving money.
surveillance cameras.
this. It was a good value.
Great
No,
value.
but there wasn't that much surveillance footage in 13 Cameras. Most of it was professionally shot, and it looked okay.
This movie is a more professional production than 13 Cameras.
I
Get
think
the
so.
fuck out.
I mean, okay, so let's talk about like our initial impressions of because
Let's talk about what this fucking movie is about, because we
Well,
haven't even
what
gotten to
is
that
I
the-
yet.
had seen this movie before because I do follow the horror beat, and I saw that poster.
The horror beat.
I do. I mean, I read Bloody Disgusting and Dread Central and all this stuff.
And some other websites that haven't paid us money.
No, yeah.
They
shout out
love.
to you guys.
They
Oh,
love
Steve,
this.
do an ad. Do an ad right now for one of those websites.
Every morning I get up and I have my coffee and I pop open Bloody Disgusting because I need to know what is bloody and disgusting out there in the world. That's what I live for. It's frankly why I choose to put clothes on before I go out into the world.
Okay, guys, I don't want to go to jail, so I got to interject and say we are not being sponsored by any of these companies.
How would anybody send us to jail for giving
one's gonna send
giving
you
them
to
an
jail.
advertisement they didn't pay
Free
for?
ad-
Because maybe people don't want to be associated with a bunch of anti-Semitic guys on a podcast.
I take
Well, then you haven't read Bloody Disgusting, sir.
Wait, no, continue, Steve. Now you have to pivot to when you sell the listener on why they should go to Bloody Disgusting.
If, like me, you have a hard time trying to figure out, why to stay alive when you wake up in the morning, you should check out Bloody Disgusting. It's going to give you some gore, some thrills, some chills, some spills, some news, maybe even some clues about upcoming films like It Chapter 2. Every time there's a casting announcement, you're going to hear about it first on Bloody Disgusting.
Jesus
And don't forget
Christ.
to give the special link or the code that
Aim on.
right.
Go to Bloody Disgusting, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in AMON, EHMON.
And what are they going to get if they do that?
They're going to get free content. I mean, it was free to begin with, but it's even if it's possible for it
Even
to be
freer.
freer, then it's freer. It's freer than free. You're not going to be clutching for your wallet or your credit card when you check out Bloody Disgusting with that code. I'm going to tell you, it's going to give you a whole new lease on life.
He's doing a great job. Perfect.
It's gonna give you a no results found.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I hope potential sponsors hear that and say yes, please, we want that because we are
Yeah.
thirsty for sponsors.
and that was totally improv.
we gotta
Steven didn't write that.
we gotta
No
get out of
copy.
this
Potential
No copy.
sponsors, no copy.
sweltering apartment.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
so what I was saying initially, I don't want to hog the mic here, but I knew about this film. I'd seen it because I read a lot about horror movies, and I saw this poster and the title, and I knew it was about a haunted board game. So we can give listeners some clue as to what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's got Barbara Crampton in it, who, I'm a huge Stuart Gordon fan. I've got from Gregory C. Allen, former guest, one of his friends made some caricatures of horror directors. I have a caricature of Stuart Gordon in my apartment right now. He did Reanimator, From Beyond, both starring Barbara Crampton.
I was going to say, what has Barbara Crampton been?
Yeah,
She's kind of a horror queen, a scream queen. She's in a lot of these sorts of movies, especially. I think she's been in maybe a Rob Zombie movie or two. I could be wrong about that, but she pops up a lot. She's at the conventions. This is her bread and butter. And I thought, with all this combined, that cool 80s looking poster, I'm going to get like a Stuart Gordon throwback, like something from the VHS era of the 80s.
Oh, me too. I was stoked on this movie. I mean, I think you drew my attention to this a year or two ago. And I was like, this looks great. I love this premise. The poster looks great. It had really good reviews. I was stoked to watch this movie. And holy shit was I. Okay, never mind. I won't reveal.
You kind of did.
I will say
I know,
I
that was the
approach
joke.
these things with some skepticism because I know that even as far back as, not even since the VHS era, I mean, movie posters are all about selling you something that you may or may not get. Think back to like William Castle and all of his movies with like, there's going to be you have to, or Alfred Hitchcock, you have to be
Wait,
18.
who's William Castle?
William Castle did Macabre and The Tingler. He was like a stunt film director where he would for The Tingler, he would go around the country with these movies and present them. And for The Tingler, he would have like buzzers under the seat that would like. When there was
Oh,
nothing on
yeah,
screen,
they made
would,
a movie
buzz you.
about him.
What's that movie?
They made a movie about him, though. Am I right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they made a movie about this guy.
There's a movie about a similar guy called Matinee with John Goodman.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
Which I haven't seen, but I really want to.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Joe Dante directed it. But anyway. So I approached movies in general, horror movies, with some skepticism because I'm like, well, okay, the cover looks cool, but like, can the movie possibly really look like that? They're selling me on this fantasy image. I'm not going to reveal how I felt about this movie yet. We'll get to that before our break eventually, but I did go in with some caution and trepidation.
I had no preconceived notions. I try to keep myself completely free of knowing anything about these movies, as I've said before until I watch them. I don't want to see. I'll see the poster. I'll see the title. I don't want to know the synopsis. I don't want to see a trailer. I want to just go in and let it come to me.
I'm the same way. This was sort of the rare one where I actually had some foreknowledge of it because even before Amon existed, which I know is a strange mythological time that none of us can remember anymore.
Who can remember?
I actually did have knowledge of this one and had been excited to see it. So I was like, oh, sweet. I get to finally watch Beyond the Gates for the podcast.
Sam, did you have any?
I had no preconceived. I read the synopsis on Netflix, and I knew that it was about a haunted board game of sorts, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a little like Bedeviled, the last one that we watched for this, and said haunted app, haunted board game, okay. And, I liked the artwork, but I wasn't having high hopes, but I thought that maybe it would be okay.
It's always interesting when we have two episodes that kind of thematically tie together. Like, we had Backcountry, and then the next movie we did was The Ritual, which are
Right.
both like Lost in the Woods movies.
Camping, yeah.
And again, we have two movies that are kind of in the theme of like technology of some sort taking you into a place you don't want to be. So the basic premise is we have two brothers who are estranged, and they are reunited because their father has been missing and is presumed dead, and their father owned a video store, a Mammoth, not Mammoth Video, if anyone remembers that chain, but a Mammoth video store. Tons of videos, tons of DVDs, and they're there to sort out his affairs, basically, and box up the store. And they discover a 80s VCR game. So it's a board game, but you play along with a VCR tape in your TV.
Well, they find a key to his private office, which
Right.
we learned was an alcoholic and would spend a lot of time shut off from the world. And eventually they discover a key to go in there, and they think it might lead to clues of, what he was thinking, what was happening around the time he
Yeah, what
disappeared.
happened.
They're not sure if he's dead or not yet, but they probably assume that.
Yeah.
And that's where they discover that game, which is like lovingly crafted. Like it was handmade for the film. It looks like something that could have really existed in that era when VHS games were a thing.
Yep. And one circumstance leads to another. They end up exploring this game, playing the game, and there's a supernatural elements to the game that takes them down a path of lots of horror stuff happens.
Yeah,
We'll just
lots of
leave it
horror.
at
It
that.
does, but it takes a long fucking time.
You know, the detail I'm hung up on for some reason is you said VHS and DVDs. Are there DVDs in this store?
No,
Yeah.
they make a point to
No.
say he didn't have a lot of faith in the DVD, but
There's
He
a
didn't.
few. I thought he had a few,
There-
No,
There's a
he
few.
does.
but not a lot.
He personally didn't have faith in the DVD boom, but the sign that's hanging on the store says like over 10,000 DVDs or something.
oh, you know what? They
'Cause
have
this movie
DVD copies of the
fetishizes
Avengers
VHS a lot.
TV series. Yeah, that's the only DVDs I noticed. And why I noticed that detail, I'm like, when I look at like packaging of like shelving units, especially because I just moved recently, I always look at, they always have like, you know, shit on the shelves to show you like what it would look like with your CDs, and like we have those anymore in books and stuff. And I'm always like, I want to see what they put on there to try and make it look cool. And I always look at the titles. So when I see a movie like this that's like, you have scenes that are like wall-to-wall VHS movies, I'm like trying to scan everything to
me
see what I
too.
can find. Most of it unrecognizable. A lot of it is just like tapes that like tapes that you can buy to record things off TV that have like the handwritten label on them.
Yeah.
But I noticed a couple of DVDs of the Avengers TV series. Pretty sick.
I mean, because this movie fetishizes VHS pretty hard. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Oh, from the opening credits.
Arguably, my favorite part is the opening credits.
Mine too.
Absolutely,
Which is,
that was my favorite part too.
which is just this super, like, very 80s,
Yeah.
blue lit close-ups on, like, the interior workings of a VCR and a VHS
And the
opening
music
up.
was
And they
very-
ripped off our
Yeah.
theme song,
Early
which I'm very upset
90s,
about.
late
Should probably
80s.
send a cease and desist.
Yeah, they do a very 80s, like, synthy John Carpenter kind of score, which I'm kind of sick of movies doing. Steve and I talked about this recently, but I dug it in this
opening
credit
credits,
sequence.
yeah.
It was cool, but it
Bright
didn't.
pink lettering, love the colors, and nothing else in the movie lives up to that.
It doesn't, but also that opening credit scene doesn't really set anything up except that this movie is a loving homage to
Yeah,
the 80s or
right.
the early 90s.
Homage.
Which, homage. I'm sorry, I
homage.
mispronounced it.
I'm surprised you guys.
A lot of callbacks in this episode.
I'm surprised I'm detecting so much hate for this from everybody.
I should love it. I
Yes,
mean, theoretically. like,
Theoretically, you should love it.
but I don't like things like, I don't like Stranger Things. I think it's bullshit. I mean, I'm going to offend some people by saying that. Like, I don't like things that are like purely rooted in nostalgia and borrowing the tropes and
But
the
this
styles of
isn't-
things.
I don't
even.
think it is.
I think it wants to be, but it doesn't do a good job.
I mean, let me be clear. I hated this movie, but also I think that it's nostalgia. It has that nostalgia vibe in the credits, and then it mostly drops that. Like, there's not a lot of that vibe in the movie itself.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot. This movie's all about
And Stranger
nostalgia.
Things is totally consistent,
Well, yeah, unlike this film.
which
we'll
I
get into
like
that
Stranger
later.
Things for the most part.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm okay
I haven't
talking
seen
shit
it,
about
so no
Stranger Things.
spoilers.
No
No
spoilers.
spoilers.
No
Yeah.
spoilers.
No, Winona Ryder dies. Oh, sorry, did I say that?
I
It's
will,
a joke. It's a joke.
I
She
will
doesn't die.
fucking kill you.
Oh, settle down. She doesn't die.
Okay. Well, that's a spoiler too. Fuck you.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
speaking of nostalgia, though, like this whole movie is like people talking about the fucking past as well, which is just so boring to get through. There's like a solid hour of character building
All
in
right.
this film.
Listen, no. All right. It's a while. There's a lot of that, and then there's a while before the first like mediocre horror scene happens, which is just like he's in bed and he hears something. He gets out of bed. He sees a shadow. Whatever. It's stupid, right?
Sure, and unrelated to
Unrelated
the
to
plot line that comes up
anything.
later in the film.
Completely unrelated.
But that happens at the 20-minute mark. So the first 20 minutes, it's exclusively character building and
Yes.
establishing this town. And I actually thought that was refreshing. Maybe it's just because we just, watched Bedeviled and a bunch of movies that haven't put a lot of effort into kind of character. But I did feel like I knew the characters and
Sure.
that they took time to kind of set them up and what was going on. And I was like, great, I'm on board with this.
I was
see
too.
where it goes.
I wasn't turned off by any means. I think Patrick had a stronger reaction to sort of the slow pace of this film based on conversations we've had. But I didn't dislike it. I thought like, okay, this is what I expect. It's a low budget horror movie. I assume they're going to save a lot of the good stuff for last, and seems like they probably did. But for the most part, like for the first 20 minutes, I was like, I'm fine just getting to know these characters, and the acting was pretty decent.
Acting was great.
I disagree.
Oh yeah, I strongly
fully
disagree.
disagree.
Oh, wow.
Strongly.
Wow.
The main protagonist,
Ugh.
Gordon, the brother that we're supposed to, I don't know, we
Identify
follow him
with.
the most, and he's the worst. I can't believe that he's got 30 credits on his IMDb, and I don't know who
Really?
the hell would pay him to act it's just not, he's not good. And I'm sure it was purposeful, and he was going for this, like, very, like, I don't know, monotone.
Oh, that's very generous.
Yeah. But it didn't come across well, and I didn't empathize with this character at all. I didn't care about him at all. I cared more about the other characters, supporting
The
characters.
brother was, I thought he was great. He reminded me of
Brother was
Emil Hirsch a lot, like a lot of his like tics and his like facial movements. He has this like great way of looking, like kind of like shaking his head back and forth and looking like dopey, like wait, what just happened? Like I thought he was pretty fantastic for a low budget movie like
The
this.
main character, I didn't think he was compelling, but I didn't think it was a bad performance. I thought that was the character. The character was just a guy.
It wasn't
who's
bad. It was just mediocre to me. It felt like just
he's playing
amateur
a
hour.
mediocre character.
This whole movie is an amateur hour. I mean, it's a first feature. But no, I'm with you. I felt that, but also I was like, for a movie
You
like
can
this,
find a good actor for a first feature.
Listen, he's playing a character. The actor is playing a character who's like basically like a finance guy.
That's
who
fine. I understand
has
the character.
Little humanity and has like alcohol problems and his life is in shambles and he's probably depressed.
Dude, stop talking about me, Chris.
But you can play that convincingly and in a way that convinces me that you are that character. And this seemed like an actor trying poorly to portray that character.
I'm sure it could have been done better. I guess that's the kind of the problem we've had with some of these other movies where they give us a character whose main trait is he's kind of numb to everything.
Yeah, and that's how it felt to me, was that he was like, if I'm giving him credit for his acting abilities, is the character is supposedly removed. But for me, it just came across as a really piss poor acting performance.
Yep.
I gotta say though, Patrick, I'm gonna challenge you here because you made the same argument for Kate Bosworth in 2 films. And I feel like she's playing characters who are numb, emotionally removed. She shows no range as an actress, but you still believed her. And I think that's kind of how I felt about this guy. I was like, yeah, it could be better. Like, I was never impressed with him, but I just felt like, for what this movie is and like what this character is, it works. It's not as bad as anything Bedeviled.
I feel like I know people like him.
I mean, I
I'm
don't
sure
really
I
take
do.
that as a challenge. It's all subjective, I mean, I responded. I thought Kate Bosworth came off as an actress giving a decent performance as someone who was fairly numbed and subdued by the conditions of circumstances around her, kind of like me on this podcast right now. Just kidding. I'm having a great time. And this actor in this movie came off as a poor actor playing a pretty thinly written character.
I think the burden really lies on the script.
Yeah.
Even more so than the acting. Like, I feel like there's just not a lot of subtext here, really. It's a lot of just
There's
kind of
not a lot of
hanging out.
anything for a while.
That actor doesn't have a lot to really work with. His character actually seems to be defined more by the other characters around him.
Yeah. Strangely enough, like the last film, I watched this twice. I did. Sorry, guys.
I'm so happy.
I'm
And
sorry
I-
for you.
And I listened to it once, and I felt, strangely enough, so that both viewing times, the first time I was very, very bored and couldn't stay engaged. The second time I forced myself to stay engaged, and the third time listening, I actually felt that the main character was more compelling without watching his face. And I don't know what that says about him, but
He's
I felt
got a face.
he does have a face, but listening to him,
Oh.
no, I felt like he might be a better. I feel really shitty to say, but he might be a better voice actor.
Oh, we've said worse.
Oh,
Don't worry
God.
about it.
I'm sorry, man.
I mean, that's
but-
the character, though. The character is like your typical, like, impotent finance asshole who has no soul.
impotent.
I kind of like that he's got very just sort of like... We're really breaking this guy down, but I like the thick glasses and the
He's
lazy
delightful.
eyes. Like his eyes just seem so like dead, like they don't really see anything clearly.
I mean, again, whatever. We can agree or disagree. I didn't have any problems with the
We
performances.
do disagree.
That's great. Well, we wouldn't have a conversation if that wasn't the case. So,
Amen. Amen.
amen. I'm sorry. By the way, that's our offer code for Bloody Disgusting to get even free content. Also, you can probably get a Lisa mattress for like 10% off if you use HGTGM. And just FYI.
Well, the other characters we should explain. It's a small cast. Basically, it's him, his estranged brother,
Yeah.
the main guy's girlfriend, Margot, who shows up and she's, the life of the party. She's having a great time.
Oh, she's a hoot.
Yeah.
Would love to party with her.
Yeah.
Just kidding. She's boring as fuck.
She's nice enough.
To each his own. She's nice enough. And then there's, some supporting villagers who don't really matter. They're there to die.
Villagers. Is this the ritual?
I wish.
Townspeople.
It's a town. It's a city, not a village.
The only other real presence in the film is, what's her face?
Well, there's a junkie character as well.
Well, yeah, but
Ex-junkie.
what's the actress we were talking about?
Oh, Barbara Crampton.
Yeah, Barbara Crampton.
She's the face of this game, Beyond the Gates. You put this VHS tape in, and she's black and white. She's got, very smoky eyes, lots of mascara, and she's kind of ghoulish looking, and like Vampira or Elvira or something like that. And she instructs you on how to play the game.
We'll play a little clip of that. You'll get the idea.
To collect the keys and unlock the gateway, a series of challenges must be undertaken. Failure to do so will turn your souls over to our world.
There's supposed to be some sort of goal or something?
I have no idea.
Obtaining the 4 keys allows passage beyond the gates and a return to your world. Only there can your father's soul be saved.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so what's clear from that is that this game is not ordinary. She's directly addressing the people playing it. They're freaked out by it. I would say not freaked out enough.
No, not freaked out enough.
Yeah, no.
I mean, not quite like bedeviled levels of not being freaked out enough by the weird shit going on around you, but still, yeah.
Well, I mean, one thing I kept in mind, though, I gave this film some credit for... I'm glad there were no overreactions in this movie that I can remember. Like, they are trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with their dad. So like, they're kind of distracted by that and hoping that this will offer some kind of clue. So they seem more like intrigued than terrified by what's happening, which seems fairly natural to me, actually.
Yeah.
I think they should have been more terrified as some of the horrors persisted. I don't know. As they started to play the game, I don't want to spoil anything. They should have been more scared, and I felt like they weren't.
That's a good point. Because it's easy, like if I played a VCR game and the VCR started talking to me, I'd be like, that's weird. But also, I know that I don't live in a horror movie, so I probably wouldn't take it seriously. I'd probably be like,
Really? If the VCR was like straight up calling you Chris and like responding to shit you said.
is it that overt in this movie, though?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
they like, she mentions like details about like where they're sitting and what's going on in the room, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They asked her direct questions, and she answered.
Well, yeah.
Wow, another parallel with the last film we watched. She's the Mr. Bedevil of this movie, I think.
Yeah, this is just...
But
prettier.
But she was great. Everything that happened with the board game, I thought was great. And anything I didn't like about this movie can be chalked up to the movie just not sticking to that premise very well.
That's kind of your key, and I'm taking that on in my
Yeah.
evaluations of any form of art or entertainment as well. Like, stick to the premise. Like, I came here for a reason. It's called Beyond the Gates. It's about a board game. It takes so long before they begin playing the board game, and then there's like a longer break before anything really comes of that.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really like the last half hour of this movie is jam-packed with, I would say, straight-up horror and fantasy. Before that, it's kind of like a Duplass Brothers movie.
It's like Mumblecore.
oh, wow.
Mumble gore.
Oh.
I did not coin that, but
Oh,
No,
that's
you
too
didn't.
bad.
that's a term people use, apparently.
I found that
No,
online.
yeah, it's just these two brothers fucking hanging out and like mumbling. Yeah, I wasn't even trying to bring it back to Mumblecore, but yeah, just kind of mumbling to each other about fucking their missing dad in the video store.
That's all fine. That's all fine. Like, I
Fine is a really generous
loaded
word.
term.
Hold on, though. Hold on. What I'm trying to say is you can invest in the character development and all this stuff, and I'm with you for a long time with the assumption it's going to pay off into something.
Or with the assumption that the characters are going to develop, which they don't.
Right.
You and Steve have both described this as character development, and I don't really see any character develop. I mean, I know what you guys are referring to, and I'm not actually taking issue with your use of the term, but I'm more trying to point out that those characters don't develop for that 45 minutes
Well, that's
when
the
nothing
payoff.
is fucking happening.
That's the payoff. What I'm saying is I will sit there and watch two brothers having a conversation for 20 minutes if the scene itself is good. And most of the scenes in this movie that involve that are good. But I'm waiting for it to pay off into some reason why I should give a shit.
Yeah.
And then this movie doesn't give me that.
No.
Well, can I just say, it takes a half hour before they even find the game. That's the main premise of the film.
Yeah.
That it's titled after.
Yeah. You
sure.
can't even, you don't see the game until a half hour into the movie. And then they don't even start playing the game until like 45 minutes in.
I'm glad you clocked that. I was
I
trying
sure
to remember.
did.
I was trying to remember.
I absolutely did.
'Cause it was way too much.
Yeah, in my second screening, I was showing it to my fiance, and we were watching it, and I said, now, just to let you know that now that they're starting to play a game, we're over halfway done with this movie already. He's like, no way. Paused it, watched the timing, 45 minutes in, over halfway done with the movie. Here you go. Here's the action. Oy.
That's awful when you put it like that.
This movie really sets you up for the pacing because that opening credits scene, you see the slow churning of the tape on a VHS.
But the
you know?
music is upbeat, and I'm in like, I'm like,
Yeah.
all
I'm kidding.
right.
I'm being facetious, but yeah, no, it does set you up for this to be like a banger of a throwback
a
movie.
banger movie.
And it's not at all. It's got more in common with Jim Jarmusch than Stuart Gordon. I mean, this is it's a lazy, lackadaisical movie for sure. Up until a point.
I don't know if I would call it lazy.
Lazy. It's got a lazy kind of like relaxed vibe to it though. Like it's not interested
Yeah.
in giving you a lot of information quickly. It's doled out over a long time through conversations between the two brothers. For a solid apparently 45 minutes. They didn't even crack that box open until then.
Yeah.
Box that's in impeccable condition for being there since, whatever, the 90s.
Well, it's a magic box.
Oh, okay.
It's implied.
So no dust, no nothing.
Well, because they go on the little junket to the creepy antique store.
Junket.
You know, where it came from.
We can talk about that maybe for a second.
Yes, my favorite performance in the whole movie, the antique store
My
owner.
least favorite performance.
Oh,
in
get
the
the
whole
mine
movie.
fuck
Dude,
out.
me and Chris
Holy
are on the same
shit,
fucking page
yeah.
here. I thought this guy was so over the top.
No,
just like he might as well
miscast.
winked at the camera.
He's known for it. He's known for his camp. I looked him up. He's known for the campiness, and that's probably why they hired him.
What
He
do you-
actually registered as a fucking personality, unlike those fucking brothers or
I
anyone
mean,
else
I
in the
don't
movie
think
other
he was
than Barbara
worth anything,
Crampton.
and I thought he was hilarious because he was so fucking campy. But that's, I guess, what they hired him for because that's his forte. It was when I looked up a couple reviews
He's played by
of this.
Will Forte, to be clear. That's Will Forte is the antique dealer.
No,
Okay.
but
He could have.
But the two
Would've been
names
well
that they
cast.
said for here was the Barbara chick and this guy, Jesse Martin. I think. Hold on.
I almost don't want to know.
Just go ahead and talk. I'll find this.
Well, so what you're saying is that he was deliberately chosen for camp.
I believe so. I mean, I can't imagine
Oh, I
any
would
other
hope so,
circumstance.
yeah. How could they have him in there and not?
I just thought it was
I mean-
like, I knew it was sort of camp, but
Jesse Merlin, who has toiled
Merlin.
in Merlin,
like
who
the
has
wizard.
toiled
Wizard.
in numerous
He
campy
is a
stage
wizard
and
of the
screen horror
stage.
musicals.
Well, I wouldn't call his performance wizardly by any means, but cool name.
all right. Well, that brings me to my main complaint with this movie, which is that it is just a tonal clusterfuck. Like, do you understand? Does anyone understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, I like while watching this movie, I was thinking like, okay, well, obviously this is marketed toward the horror crowd because it's got elements of horror.
Yeah.
But it's not a horror comedy because there isn't
no
much
comedy.
There are a couple of attempts at comedy, but they're naturalistic. It's like, well, people sometimes say things to each other and make them laugh, but there are no jokes in this movie. So it's not a horror comedy. It's not a horror film until more than halfway through it.
Right.
Up until then, it's barely a drama because there's almost nothing at stake, or they fail to remind us that there are things at stake. I don't know how to even classify this,
Well, there's
which is kind of admirable in some ways.
gore for gore's sake,
Right.
almost.
Yeah, you have these like
Yeah, I hated that.
like I said, you have 20 minutes of like estranged brothers trying to like sort out their shit, packing up their dead dad's VCR videotape store,
VHS.
VHS store.
There you go.
And then you go into this like kind of spooky mystical board game world, and then you go into like this gore shit where it's like super campy,
Heads
people's heads
exploding.
exploding.
So
Baseball bats, blood
And it's
everywhere.
just all played for like gratuitousness, not even played for emotion. Just like, look at what we do. We make heads explode.
Here's
Isn't
what
this a
I
cool
have
movie?
to say about the head exploding.
Wait, you only have one thing to say?
I have only one thing to say,
that's
actually,
incredible.
about the head
We should have a sound
exploding.
Do you have
that.
1.5 things to say?
You know, Chris said we go into this mystical board game world, but I would disagree because we don't. That was what I was waiting for this whole time, was for the board game world to kind of take some hold over the real world in like a Jumanji sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for something more fantastical to happen.
What we get is like a shitty, like haunted, like high school haunted house or something by the
my
end
gosh.
of it.
And so when the head explodey shit happens, I was like, you know, I just laughed. I was totally into it. I was like,
funny.
you know, yeah, sure. Give me something like fucking to react to, because I've just been watching people talk to each other and watch a fucking TV. Like, finally, I had seen something shocking and sort of entertaining, and so I was all about the head exploding. Give me the scanner
I
shit.
hated
Let's go.
it. I hated it. It just gave me flashbacks to like Boondock Saints. Like, let's push a toilet off a building onto somebody just because it's edgy and fucking funny.
I felt the
Boondock
same way,
Saints.
but I was also like, well, I'm glad something's happening like that I can react to. I think Patrick phrased it perfectly, but also it was like not what I came for. I was hoping that this movie could have somehow balanced what happens in the end with what leads up to it into some sort of like tonally consistent whole that's like moody, kind of funny at times, but still keeps the spooky horror vibe.
So it's
instead it's like Loud Quiet Loud. It's like the Pixies. It's like you get like mumblecore for 45 minutes and then like a little shot of horror that's like super obnoxious, and then back to the mumblecore, and then the horror is even louder after that until it ends.
So you end up with a betrayal of the 45 minutes of mumblecore,
Yes.
which actually works by itself because there's nothing after it that pays it off.
And it wasn't great, but I feel like if like it had been made by more assured hands, it could have.
I was into it. Like, you know, you have the subplot, which is subtext for a long time,
Yeah.
about how our main character is like a recovering alcoholic who beat his girlfriend,
Sure.
broke her arm,
deep shit.
deep shit. And they don't even really come out and say that. They hint at it enough so that you're interested and you're like, oh, I think I know what's going on here. And then they
You
come
know
out and
what
say
happens.
it later.
It's not really a spoiler. You kind of know what
Right.
happens.
Right. I was disappointed that they said it overtly because I thought it was
Oh, right.
well done when they were hinting at it. Mm-hmm. But then, yeah, who cares? That means nothing in the end.
It absolutely means nothing. I made a note in my notes that the alcoholism was like just completely unexplained. I mean, they tried to explain it, but I feel like it was just an added detail and like unnecessary to the plot.
Let me try to give it some benefit of the doubt. I don't want to get into spoiler room territory, but by the end of the movie, things happen and you get the sense that maybe the journey they're going on through the game is helping them cope with aspects of their life that resulted in their problems today.
Okay.
So, I don't know. But
Maybe.
I think that's what they were going for.
I think that's what they're going for. Can't say whether or not they achieved it quite yet.
You
but
might have
we'll
to
get
have
into it.
alcoholism in your family to understand this movie.
I do, and I didn't understand this movie.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So, we talked a lot about we're beating around the bush with spoilers. Why don't we review it, go down to the spoiler room afterward, and get into a little more detail?
Sounds
Sounds-
Yeah,
like a plan.
great.
Great.
Sure.
Sounds gate.
Wow.
Let's get
So-
beyond those gates.
Perfect.
Sam, would you view it, cue it, or screw it?
Oh gosh. Well, I definitely came today wanting to just say
Oh, yeah?
screw it. Oh yeah, secrets. Screw it, fuck it, damn it. But I don't know. Yeah, definitely screw it. I thought it wasn't worth my time. Definitely the first time watching it, I was so bored. 45 minutes to get to something exciting. That's just not worth anybody's time. Don't waste yours. You're saved. You're welcome. Done. Next.
Patrick.
All right. I would also say screw it. I was just so enthused about this going in. I really wanted to like it. I was really intrigued by the concept. And I don't know, maybe my expectations made me more disappointed in it. Maybe if I had just seen it knowing nothing going in, I would have said, cue it, it's okay, whatever. But it was just a huge disappointment. Totally failed to deliver on what was a really interesting premise to me. Chris?
I've been thinking about this all day. I don't think this movie deserves universal screw it's, but I have to give it a screw it. I'm sure there are people out there who will like this movie if they watch it, but I'm not one of them, and I thought so much of it was boring that I can't recommend anyone put it in their queue even.
There's an 82% tomato meter.
Really?
82.
Wild.
It was a hit on the festival circuit too. I mean, like in the
Yeah.
horror world, people love this movie. They love this director. I think they kind of take it with a grain of salt, and they're hoping that he's working with somebody pretty high profile next. And I can't remember who it is, but
I mean, this is a classic example of I would like to see what this person does next.
yeah,
I
me
think.
too.
I think.
It won an award at Los
Yes.
Angeles Film Festival.
I'm sure it's won a bunch of like. This seems like the kind of stuff that like really is like above the usual bullshit that premieres at these things, but it's still, you know.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
The stuff that involves the board game and what's her face on the TV is good. I liked all of that stuff. The character stuff was fine. I was into that too. But at the end of the day, it's just boring as hell. And then it all pays off in like juvenile gore bullshit that I resented. So screw it, I guess. Fuck it. Steven.
I
Damn it.
really wanted to give it a Q it, but the more I'm thinking about it, screw it. This reminds me of this sort of like those like macho horror or like hybrid movies like Bellflower. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That was kind of a big thing through Oscilloscope. But it's just like so fucking bro-y and like doesn't really have any original ideas, or what little it does have going for it that is original, it doesn't deliver on. I will say, I watched this movie in one sitting, guys.
Oh my god.
Never was I bored, but always hoping that it was going to pay off. And then when
And this was the second time you watched it, right?
the first time was very passively because I wasn't interested. I didn't even watch the whole thing the first time, but this time I was like, I'm gonna sit down and really give this thing a shot because I've heard so much praise. Love Barbara Crampton, love the concept. Never was I bored, but I am so disappointed that I paid attention to the nuances of the characters, even forgiving the somewhat mediocre performances and the lackluster directing, only to have a head explode to tell me I'm supposed to be paying attention like 20 minutes before the end of the movie. Yeah. It becomes so juvenile that I was actually offended and felt like the film had affronted me. Like, it was almost like calling me out in some way for having stuck through it that far, expecting more than that. With all the cool things happening in horror movies, like, The Witch and, all the yeah, and like A Dark Song, and like these movies that we've discovered that are really nuanced and like teach you to be scared in ways that you'd never really experienced before in a film. I expect a film of this caliber that has this much of a high profile to be smarter than it is, and it's dumb as fuck. Screw it.
It dumb as fuck.
Well, I was kind of talking to Patrick about this today in coded language, but we have these movies like this where it's like if they were just gonna go balls to the wall the whole movie and give us a head exploding movie with this 80s score and the style of this movie, great. But
Yeah.
they are
that.
Yeah, but the director is like, I have this somewhat nuanced interpersonal drama I want to communicate, but also this like bullshit juvenile Evil Dead shit to communicate, and they just don't work together. He should have made 2 movies.
I love the head exploding shit, but still, fuck this movie.
No, I mean, it was hilarious.
Both would have worked in their own movies, but together,
No.
no bueno. All right. Well, with that, we're going to go in the spoiler room, I guess. Talk about some more head explodies in more detail. If you
Explodies.
if you give a shit,
We're gonna
stick
talk
around.
more. We're gonna talk more about the great deals you can get at bloodydisgusting.com if you just enter the code.
Aim on.
Hopefully Greg fixed the air conditioning down there.
Jesus. I don't think you did. All right. Well, we'll see you soon. Otherwise, go watch the movie by yourself. But don't say we didn't warn you. See you soon. Hey, welcome back. We're here. We're all here. We all made it down to the spoiler room. And
Fucking Greg still hasn't fixed the air conditioning.
it's hot as hell. But you know what? Are we in the spoiler room to be comfortable, or are we in the spoiler room to talk about spoilers?
Can I be comfortable and talk about spoilers? Is
Not
that a
at the
thing?
same
Can't we
time.
have both?
Well,
You didn't come to the spoiler room to be comfortable. I don't know.
What is that a reference
Oh
to?
boy.
I don't know.
I thought it was
Drills.
something.
I don't know. Get off my back.
Like this,
What do you want
like
from
this
me?
movie.
The
that seemed
spoiler
like
movie, it
something
takes brass balls.
What is that supposed to be?
ABS. Always be spoiling.
A always be B. S spoiling. Always be spoiling.
I'm gonna win the steak knife set, you guys.
All right. I don't know what there's to spoil about this movie. I guess the main dramatic crux is that our heroes, their dad was an alcoholic,
He's dead. He died.
abusive, and I don't know if he's died, but he's damned. He played the game, and he's in the netherworld.
Yeah, his soul is gone, basically, and he's possessed by some demonic force. But yeah, his soul is gone, and
I
so
call that dead.
yeah, for sure. And so they have to save his soul
DED.
from damnation.
Yeah. So how do they do it?
Fuck if I know.
There are some keys that they have to get
I just looked at Sam.
through the game. Yeah, I've seen it 3 times.
She's got
so
notes
I'm
upon
the
it.
resource.
She can explain this.
So the game requires them to acquire 4 keys. The first being the Drifter, which is a friend of one of the brothers, and they found this voodoo doll in the backyard, and the keys in the middle of the voodoo doll. The voodoo doll is attached to this Drifter friend, and so when they rip open the voodoo doll, their friend gets ripped open at a bar, and blood and guts spill everywhere.
This is one of the gory, like head exploding
It's
moments we were
horrible,
talking about
gore
before.
and obnoxious with intestines flying everywhere, and then they get their first key. The second key is inside the brain of their police friend who comes after them with a gun.
He just goes batshit for no apparent
For
reason.
no reason.
Yeah. Other than
Just
I guess
wanders
he,
into the yard
he-
with a fucking, what is it, a shotgun?
he did
Some sort of gun.
watch the tape being played and had an adverse reaction to it. Or he had, a headache. So
Like that.
I guess the headache evolved into a homicidal tendency.
And so they find this statue thing, which it doesn't make any sense. They find this thing in the garden with a key in it. They pull the key out, and their friend's head explodes.
Yeah.
So then they get the key out of the head for some reason, out of the gory head. Now they have the second key. The third key is attached to the girlfriend.
Well, I want to stop you right
Okay,
there.
yeah.
Because the third key, because they're flipping over these like tarot cards as they play the
Yeah.
game that kind of give them a hint of what to expect. And
Yeah, because they
so-
look exactly like the people that are going to die, and somehow
Right.
they don't seem to realize that.
Right. They don't seem to realize that. So they're playing with these little like tchotchkes and like fidgets and things, and then like horrible things happen and people die.
Tchotchkes and fidgets.
Yeah. And then the third card is the maiden, who's clearly
yes.
our main character's girlfriend. And we are, by everything we've seen, we're like, she's going to die. Like, they're going to kill her to get this key.
Yeah.
And the people still decide to go ahead and play the game. And she doesn't die, but I just had a hard time accepting that they would actually turn over that card and continue the game knowing that she was on there and that she was probably going to get head exploded.
the way that they did it, the way that they laid it out, they didn't really get a choice. So the way that the third card played out, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, they're not going to do anything for them to sacrifice her life. And they even said, like, he wanted her out of the house. Like, you need to leave. I don't want you around the house while we're playing this game. But the way that the card is that they let her down to the basement where the gate is, and they basically took her soul over to the other side while they were sleeping. So it wasn't like they had control over her actions. It just happened.
Yeah. And
And-
she got off pretty easy.
She sure did. So her soul got possessed by a demon or whatever, and then they had to go. So her sacrifice of her soul gained access to the third key. So they had the third key even though she's possessed. So they restrain her while they go and search for the fourth key. Which, does anybody else want to step in?
I don't even remember
No,
where the
you're-
fourth key was.
I don't either.
The fourth key was inside the possessed father's heart. So he had to stab his dad in the heart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, with
Basic-
the dagger.
Yeah, stab him with the dagger, pull out his heart with his hand, and then the heart transformed into the fourth key and then they win the game, and everybody lives.
This movie actually at several points reminded me of some of the Saw movies because you have like kind of a commanding force talking through a TV telling you basically that you have to kill your friends to get keys to survive.
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
And but it seems so arbitrary. I don't know. It didn't turn the dial. What else can I say?
Yeah, well, I mean, the violence is played for pure shock value, almost.
Yeah.
I would say almost comedy. It seems to
I
be
agree.
at times, and I was not excited for any of these people to die. Ostensibly, I mean, they do end up living, but like the junkie and the cop, I'm like, I don't know enough about how I feel about them to understand how I'm supposed to feel when I see their head explode or their intestines get pulled out.
By comparison, that's something that the Saw movies do much better for all their faults.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really, I mean, I did not like the direction this movie took. I felt like if it had established itself as kind of a gore, freak out kind of movie in the beginning, I might have been along for the ride. It comes so suddenly, so late in the film, and affects characters that I had grown to kind of appreciate in some way, or at least like not feel entirely indifferent toward, that I don't know, it felt cheap to me and lazy, honestly.
And for what? They end up with these keys. There seems to be an attempt at like an absolution motif where they have this alcoholic father who's a demon now, and by killing him, they both conquer their own demons and their own fear of their father and their own alcoholism. And but really, that's a lot of stuff to shoehorn into the last 6 minutes of a movie and expect it to work.
Well, and can we talk about the actual ending?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Oh, horrible! Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like some guy walks into the thrift store and meets my favorite character, the thrift store owner, again, and gets the game again.
I thought it was going to
It's
end.
happening again.
I thought it was going to end with them leaving the house and happily ever after, and I was like, that actually works with this movie.
No, but it had to end with, do you have anything from the 80s?
Jesus Christ.
Do you like board games?
We don't need that. We don't need that at the end of the movie. It's like an
That's how
obligatory
Bedeviled
thing.
ended. Like, it's just like, oh, it
Exactly.
perpetuates itself.
Yeah.
It's still alive. It's still
Right.
out there. Like, there could be
don't
a sequel.
forget, yeah, it could happen to you.
And next time it's going to be a DVD, though. Then we're all fucked.
It's really one of the most lazy.
Or a download,
Oh, that's scary.
a
Viral
downloadable
video.
movie.
It's really one of
It's
the
gonna be on
most
Netflix.
common and laziest horror movie endings. Like, it just reminds me of the ending to the original Nightmare on Elm Street, where you have
Right.
a cathartic character moment, and then it's like, oh, Freddy's the car.
Totally
Freddy's still there,
arbitrary.
you know?
Just like, yeah.
Has there ever been a horror movie where that's worked well?
No.
No.
Not that I've seen.
Where it's the, oh, never mind, the thing is still there. That's the ending.
I'm really.
Annabelle.
No, it's like if you're going to do
Annabelle
the
was
Jacob's
probably
Ladder
the only
thing,
thing.
you do it like somewhere in the second act, and then you resolve the storyline later. So it's like, oh, some of it was a dream, but it wasn't all a dream, and now it's definitely not a dream.
You know?
Like,
Or even not like it's a dream, but just like you think it's the whatever the antagonist is has been vanquished, but it's coming back, you know? Annabelle?
That
Carrie.
can work.
Actually, I will say
Annabelle's good.
Carrie's
remember
a
what
good
happens at
example
the end
that
of
worked
Annabelle.
well. That's
That
a
can
very
work.
shock ending.
Carrie, all right. And there's a lot of X-Files episodes. Going back to the X-Files.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Most X-Files episodes end with that sort of, oh, it's coming back, but it fits. It fits
Yeah.
the mood and the science of the episode or whatever. The grammar of the episode. It was just, a betrayal. What else can we say?
Well, tell us how you really
Broke
felt.
my heart.
Well, it's
Just
a bit-
broke my heart.
Again, you invest in these characters for 45 minutes when they're doing the character stuff.
If you did
and
even
that's
that.
like,
You thought it was serious.
I thought it was serious. It was just memes, though. It's just someone wanted to show us a jelly face exploding.
I mean, these endings always kind of sort of seem to communicate the idea that, like, well, it could happen to you. If you're a dipshit who goes into an antique store and asks for something from the 80s, like, it's just that.
Get what you deserve.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck it.
Well, apparently
Damn
this is
it.
what we
Screw it.
deserve. This kind of movie.
Aw.
Well, speaking of games, anyone know what we're watching next week?
No,
I don't know, but I hear we're going
don't.
to play a game to find out, though.
Yeah, I want to play a game to find out. It's time to spin the wheel of
Oh,
death.
dude, you have to do that like Jigsaw.
I want to play a game.
There you go. There you go.
The rules are simple. You spin the wheel. If your name comes up, you pick the next movie, and your friends will die. Anyway.
Patrick, Steve, and Chris, you spent your entire life spinning your wheels. Now, to save your life, you'll have to spin the wheel.
Oh my.
All right. Well, Steven won last time.
So I get to spin.
He gets
Can't
to
wait.
spin. So, all right, we're going to bring out the wheel, and we're going to see who gets to pick next week's episode, whether
see
it's
if
me or
me and
Sam
Chris
doesn't
can
get to
actually
play.
win.
I
the
don't get
first
to
time.
play.
But, all right, it's spin. Oh, God, I love this part.
I do too. So
Oh my
riveting.
gosh, what is it gonna be?
Oh, fuck.
Oh, land on me! Oh, fuck, I have to look at my list of potential candidates right now.
Oh, must be present to win.
What if I give you guys a choice between...
Don't
my-
give us a choice.
You don't
This
want
is
a
all
choice.
you.
No, this is all you.
What's the point of it?
All right, fuck.
You said
Go,
your
Patrick,
you said your
go.
number one fear was
It's
losing
Patrick.
your autonomy,
It's
and now you have full autonomy. Use it wisely.
Very
The wheel
nice,
came
very
up
nice.
Patrick, by the way, we should say. We didn't.
I'm gonna go Human Centipede.
Oh
My fucking God, I'm
Yeah.
going to kick your ass.
Wait, have you seen it, Chris?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Have you seen? Oh, you've seen it,
I've seen it.
Steve.
I've never seen it. You guys might need 2 guests next week.
Fuck.
Fuck.
Have
All
you seen
right.
it, Sam?
I have not.
You
All
haven't
right, you
seen
know what?
it?
I take it back.
No, you can't take
I've
it
seen
back.
I've seen it. I fucking hate it.
Oh, why are you doing this to us?
Just because I was curious to see what people would say.
Oh, I've already seen it. I'll tell you what I thought. It was horseshit.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna go with. I'm really torn between 2 movies right now.
We've talked about Raw.
All right, Patrick, pick. That's Steve's pick. What's your move? What's your movie?
I'm gonna say Don't Kill It.
Don't kill it. That sounds awesome. I don't know what it is.
Dolph motherfucking Lundgren is in it.
Yes.
So you know it's gonna be good.
Dolph Lundgren in Don't
Chris
Kill
is
It.
sold.
Let's go.
That's all I want to know about this movie. That's
Next
called
episode.
Don't Kill It.
Next episode.
itching.
I don't know exactly what we're gonna do, but we won't be killing it.
Oh,
It will
I can't
not be
wait.
killed.
Wait, does
It
it
will not be
does
killed.
it follow?
I don't know.
It might follow, but it will not be killed.
It will not be killed.
I mean, it might be killed. They're telling us not to kill it, but I'm guessing it gets killed, and that creates more problems.
But don't.
It's the title is not
Don't kill it.
won't kill it.
Oh, okay.
My imagination's running wild.
You shouldn't kill it.
The movie's not going to be nearly as good.
I don't
as
know
what
anything
put
about
together in
it.
my mind.
It's pretty well reviewed, I think. Dolph Lundgren is in it,
Dolph
who I love,
Lundgren.
and the title is fucking great. So
I'm in.
Don't
Here
kill
we go.
it, but if it dies, it dies. All right,
kind of like how Rocky felt about Dolph Lundgren in Rocky 4.
that's the reference.
There you go.
Because when he's beating Apollo, he says if he dies, he dies.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert for Rocky 4.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, I hope you all come back in 2 weeks when we watch Dolph Lundgren's Don't Kill It.
But he directed it.
I
Right?
can't wait.
It is. Yeah, Dolph Lundgren is not tour.
He's a multi-hyphenate. He
Yeah,
directs, stars, produces, writes.
he got.
Boxes.
He got.
Boxes, yes. Boxing by Dolph Lundgren.
All right. Well, can't wait for next time. Until then, see y'all out there on the internet, maybe.
Troll
Otherwise,
us, we might troll you back.
we might
et
try you
cetera, et
back.
cetera.
You know how it goes.
Remember the offer code.
Yep. But that's all we got. So for every horror movie on Netflix, I'm Chris.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Sam.
And I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm Steven.
You're Dolph Lundgren,
I'm Dolph Lundgren.
the American
Don't kill me.
auteur, the German
wish.
auteur. Where's Dolph
wish.
Lundgren?
Don't kill it. Or him.
He's probably not nearly as foreign as we think.
All right. Well, bye everyone.
He's fun enough.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.